Cutting straight across to Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who is leaving Sydney after that successful trip that he had right there in Australia. He's bidding goodbye to the people right there who have gathered right outside his aircraft. He's about to leave Sydney. He had a rather fruitful visit to Sydney. That is Prime Minister Modi waving a goodbye to the delegation that is present there to bid goodbye to him. He held a bilateral with the Australian counterpart, Anthony Albanese, as well in Sydney. You saw the rousing welcome that he got with the Indian diaspora too. And there you go, he has left Sydney. His three-nation tour concludes, and while at it rather successfully, he is now leaving Sydney, and these are live visuals coming in from Sydney, Australia. व्यापार और निवेश को लेकर बात हुई आने वाले समय में व्यापार में और ज्यादा बढ़ोतरी देखने को मिलेगी निवेश और ज्यादा बढ़ता हुआ नजर आएगा दोनों देशों के They had fruitful bilateral talks. Prime Minister Modi with Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, fruitful bilateral talks with that address to the Indian diaspora, and we were bringing you all the minute-by-minute updates here on India Today. All of that now concludes, and the Prime Minister's three-nation tour concludes with that, and he's leaving Sydney, and those are the visuals on your screens. Japan first, then Papua New Guinea next. After that was Australia, and now the three-nation tour of Prime Minister Narendra Modi concludes. It's concluded. In fact, when he landed, he got a warm welcome. Now he's getting a warm goodbye. Geeta Mohan now joins us for the latest on this. Geeta, first it was Japan, then it was Papua New Guinea, then it was Australia. If you could tell us a little bit more about how this has benefited the country.
Well, in many ways, the fact that in Japan there was a G7 meeting where India was an invited guest and made a very important and significant statement when it comes to not just peace and security, but also the meetings on the sidelines that were significant. The first meeting with Ukrainian President Zelensky, where he said that war is not just about war and conflict, it's also about the humanitarian crisis and what happens with people when a country or two countries go to war. From there on, we've seen Papua New Guinea, another very important place, given the kind of Chinese aggression that we've seen in the Pacific waters. Papua New Guinea also has a huge Chinese presence and wants to wean out of the China hold. So that also is very important. And now the last leg was supposed to be a Quad summit meeting for which Prime Minister Modi was going, along with the bilateral annual summit that takes place alternately between India and Australia. But the Quad summit did not happen there. It happened in Japan. Again, a very important and significant meeting where a lot of messaging when it comes to securing the waters and ensuring that no one country controls supply chains. And finally, we have Australia, where you saw from the very beginning till the diaspora event and then the meetings that he held with the business leaders, industry leaders of Australia, along with the opposition leaders, signing of agreements that are important to India and Australia in a booming digital innovation ecosystem and connecting businesses. So all this in the three-country tour by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He's now left for India.
You can safely say that this three-nation tour of Prime Minister Modi was rather quite fruitful. At the same time, it was high on optics as well.
Absolutely. Look at the diaspora event. Look at the kind of meetings, the hugs, the statements by the Australian Prime Minister, Prime Minister Albanese, the Papua New Guinea Prime Minister welcoming Prime Minister Modi with reverence, almost touching his feet. And then again, the Japanese Prime Minister, as also the G7 countries, meeting Prime Minister Modi with a lot of warmth. The leadership level of talks that and the role that India has to play is what makes these visits quite significant. We're given to understand that he will be landing in India, in New Delhi, tomorrow morning around 9 a.m.
All right, so he's boarded that flight from Sydney, and Geeta bringing us the story first on India Today. He's on his way to the national capital here in Delhi. Thank you, Geeta, for joining us with those details.